السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. Thank you guys for joining me for another after Fajr morning character reformation boot camp, where we are reading through Imam Bukhari's compilation Adab Mufrad in hopes that we can come across some information that will help us to improve upon our character. We're working to try to become better Muslims as the days go by, and what a better time to do it than in the month of Ramadan. The angels are making dua for us. The gates of Jannah are open. The gates of the hellfire are closed. Most of the shayateen are chained up. I can't think of a better time than to work on your character than now. We come to chapter 252, Bab Man Intasara Min Dhulmihi, the chapter of the person who defends himself from oppression. A person who has been oppressed, and what Islam allows of self-defense and retaliation. Islam is a practical religion in that it gives the Muslim the option to pardon and opt for the higher road, which is to pardon and to overlook and to move out of the person's way, understanding that your bad behavior is your struggle with yourself, has nothing to do with me. I'm just a casualty of your war with yourself. And let me move out of your way and let you continue on. Or to stand your ground, stand on business, and defend yourself, and to take back the haqq that was taken from you. Islam, the beauty of Islam and the adab, the justice of Islam and the fairness of Islam, is that it gives you the option. Islam doesn't force you to be one way or another, not to turn the other cheek and allow everybody to walk over top of you, nor to be, someone who is just malicious and, don't take any shorts and go back, volatile and just go after everybody that wrongs you. So Islam is the middle course between this and between that, giving you the choice. And obviously, Islam always opts for the high road. The encouragement is always what is of the high road. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah, before I go into the hadith, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Nisa, Surah number 4, ayah 148. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء من القول إلا من ظلم وكان الله سميعا عليما. That Allah does not like that vulgarity or imprudent behavior be displayed in public, except in the case of a person who has been wronged. You wrong me and I spaz out. Maybe some, vulgar language comes out of my mouth. Maybe I raise my voice. Maybe my expression changes. Maybe my demeanor changes. I'm excused because I was wronged. لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء من القول. Allah does not like vulgarity or does not like volatile behavior in public, except in the case of a person who has been wronged. And our society, and especially in the time that we live in today, we try to silence the person that has been oppressed. We say nothing to the oppressor, but we silence the oppressed when they become loud. Why do we do that? We shame the victim. The victim is loud once they're right back, and we say, hey, calm down, be patient. No, don't tell me to be patient. Did you say anything to the person when they wronged me? So why do you feel the need to come to me and silence me and take what little bit of power Allah has given me away from me. The power that Allah gives you is your ability to retaliate. Allah doesn't take that away from you. You have a right to defend yourself and to retaliate. Obviously, retaliation should be with the same level of aggression that was given to you. Do not go beyond that, because then you go from being the oppressed to the oppressor. The hadith that we just covered a couple of mornings ago, what did the Prophet ﷺ say? Al-Mustabbani. Al-Mustabbani ma qala. Two people who insult each other have their statements against each other. Wa ala al-badi. And the person who initiated gets the sin. Ma la yata'adda al-madhlum. So as long as the oppressed person doesn't transgress. So as long as the person who was wronged does not go beyond a certain limit, then you are free of blame. But the danger with not going beyond a certain limit is that when we are inflamed emotionally, when we are emotionally compromised because a wrong was done to us, it's very, very rare to find that a person has enough spiritual and emotional fortitude to restrain and refrain themselves from going beyond a certain limit. There's some of us, who don't know how to stay within the parameters. I remember my sister, may Allah forgive her. May Allah guide her to Islam, my oldest sister. We get into a fight. I hit her once. She hit me like 5 times. It's just like, but I only hit you once. And I punched you in the arm. You scratch my face and pull my hair. And it's just like, you go overboard. And then on top of that, I get in trouble. It's like, do you not see my face? I got scratch marks on. Do you not see my face? But to go beyond a certain point, it's like the person did this to you, and you're going to do this, and this to the person. Because you want to make a point, don't mess with me. You want to make a point, don't ever do this to me again. And in doing that, you went from being the oppressed to the oppressor. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, لا يحب الله الجهر بالسوء من القول إلا من ظلم وكان الله سميعا عليما. Allah does not like bad character displayed in public except in the case of a person who has been wronged. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all hearing, all knowing. Then Allah mentions in the very next ayah, إن تبدوا خيرا أو تخفوه أو تعفوا عن سوء فإن الله كان عفوا قديرا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and if you, even if it is your right, pay attention. إن تبدوا خيرا أو تخفوه. Even if it is your right to retaliate, you don't have to exercise it. And if you decide to do good or hide your good, you decide to do good in public or you decide to hide it, meaning you decide to pardon the person in public or you decide to do it behind the scenes, then indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is afuun qadira. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pardoning and He is all powerful. All right. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the very next ayat that although you have the option to retaliate, to let it go is better. That's the high road. Islam gives you the high road, gives you the middle road, and then gives you the low road. And then you choose based upon where you are in your faith. Based upon where you are in your faith. If you are at a high level of faith, you're operating as a Muslim at the highest level of Iman. You're operating at the highest level of Iman. You're not going to opt for the low road because that's not where you are in your life. That's not where you are. And you're not going to allow somebody to drag you down to that place. When you're functioning with, the bare minimum of faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're just a Muslim. You're just a Muslim. You have the option to opt for the low road because that's where you are in your faith. But a person who has worked on themselves, a person who has struggled with themselves, a person who has gone through a lot of drama in their life and have worked themselves through the ranks until they are operating, functioning at a high level. They're practicing Islam at a high level. They refuse to allow anybody to take me because I've been there. And I don't like myself when I'm at that point. I don't like who I become when I'm at that point. I've been there. Where I don't care about anybody else but myself. Where I would be willing to risk my hereafter because of some minor violation or some violation of my right. There's some people who are willing to risk it all. There are people out here in the world right now, the smallest little confrontation, they are ready to take your life. Because that's where they are in life. I'm not at a place in my life where we can get into an argument and I want to come back and take your life. I value my life. I value everything I got going on in my life. I'm not at that place. So I would much rather walk away from it and let it go for your sake, not for mine. For your sake. Because I have been at a place in my life where I didn't care about anybody, not even myself. And I know what that feels like. And I don't ever want to be there. I don't ever want to stoop that low in my life where I get to a point where I become a sociopath, where I don't care about anybody. I don't even care about myself. And if I don't care about me, then I daggone sure don't care about you. I know what that feels like. And I don't like the person that I am. I don't know about you, but I like functioning at 100%. Not 90, not 95, 100. I am at my best when I'm 100% in full control of myself and my environment. I don't like when I spiral out of control. And my environment, the people in my environment have more control over me than I have over myself. I don't like that. I don't like that feeling. I feel like I am a prisoner to my circumstance. And I felt like that my entire life. Until I converted to Islam and began to work my way through the ranks in the religion, using the tools that the religion gives you to help you become the master of yourself. I don't like that feeling where my environment, people in my environment have more control over me than I have over myself. I don't like that feeling. So you work towards mastering your emotions, mastering your environment, mastering, not allowing people to have more control over you than you have control over yourself. That's a weakness. That is a weakness. And this is something, man, unfortunately, we wish that our young men, especially African-American men, understood this. They have no self-control. The moment smallest little conflict jump off, they're willing to risk their entire lives. And then stand in front of a judge and the judge sentence you to 60 years to life and you pass out in the courtroom because you realize that at 21 years old, 22 years old, your life is over. You let 5 minutes of anger cost you the rest of your life. Nah, I don't want to be that person. The scholars say that defending yourself has two conditions. Pay attention. Lahu sharatan. Al-intisar lin-nafs, to defend yourself or to retaliate, to get your right back, has two conditions. Number one, qudratun an la yuaddi ila akbar, fitnatun akbar, is that you have the qudra, you have the power to retaliate. Some people retaliate and they make the situation worse. If your retaliation is going to make the situation worse, then it's better for you to take the L and walk away. Because if you retaliate, the situation is going to get worse. And you create a bigger fitna. You create a bigger fitna for yourself and maybe people that you even care about. Some people have the ability to harm not just you, but harm your job. You retaliate on your boss and then you lose your job. Sometimes it might be better for you to just walk away from it. Because if you retaliate, then that is going to lead to a bigger fitna. So number one, one of the conditions for retaliation or to defend yourself is that you do not create a bigger fitna. Number two, أَلَا يَتَعَدَّى حَدَّ of al-madlum, that you do not transgress the boundaries in your retaliation. You do not transgress the boundaries in your retaliation. Two conditions. Number one, that you have the power to retaliate, and that retaliation does not lead to a bigger fitna. And number two, that you do not transgress the boundaries of your oppression, meaning you get your haq back and you stop there. You get your haq back and you stop there. You do not go beyond a certain point. So this is an incident that happened between the Prophet ﷺ's wives, namely Aisha and Zainab. قال Imam Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala, we're on chapter 252. Bab man intasara min dhulmihi, the one who retaliates against a wrong that was done to them. Hadith number 559. قال إمام البخاري رحمه الله تعالى حدثنا الحكم ابن نافع قال أخبرنا شعيب بن أبي حمزة عن الزهري قال أخبرني محمد بن عبد الرحمن بن حارث بن هشام أن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها قالت أرسل أزواج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فاطمة إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فاستأذنت والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مع عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها في مرثها. Aisha, she said, as she's narrating this hadith, that the wives of the Prophet ﷺ sent Fatima to the Prophet ﷺ to speak to him about his behavior with Aisha and the rest of his wives. They are taking issue with him because they feel like he allows Aisha to get away with certain things that he does not allow them to get away with. So they are requesting fairness, equality. And as we said before, that Islam doesn't operate on equality. Islam operates on equity. Islam does not operate on the principle of equality. Islam operates on the principle of equity, that everyone be given based upon what their circumstances require. Not everybody is put on the same level and everybody is dealt with the same. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't deal with us as his servants like that, nor is his legislation dealt with like that. Even when it comes to inheritance, you look at inheritance, everybody is not given the same. Everybody is not given the same amount of wealth when it comes to distributing your inheritance. This person is given this amount, this person is given that amount. They're not all on the same level. The man is given double what the woman is given. Someone say, well, that's oppression. That's not equal. Islam doesn't operate on the principle of equality. The woman doesn't have to work. So any money that she is given, that's for her. The man has to work, pay bills, take care of a family, provide, protect. So he's given double the portion that a woman would be given. Because her money is her money. She can go spend it on whatever. His money is to maintain the entire family. So why wouldn't he be given a double portion? Because his double portion goes to benefit her. So if she was to be given the same amount he is given, then she is given the double portion because she has her share, and then he's going to spend his money on her, so then she has his share too. You see how that works? So that's why he's given a double portion of what the woman is given. Do you guys understand? Islam does not operate on the principle of equality. It's equity. Everybody is given according to their position, their circumstance. We have this radical understanding of equality. Everybody got to be dealt with equally. Everybody got to be treated equally. That's not fair. And your perception of fairness has an undertone of oppression. Your perception of what fairness is actually oppression. Because everybody, if they are treated equally, then somebody is going to be oppressed in that process. So if the woman is given the same share of inheritance the man is given, let's say a father dies. Father dies, he has a son, he has a daughter. Who becomes responsible for maintaining the home? The son. So if the woman is given the same amount that the son is given, the daughter is given the same amount of inheritance the son is given, she's going to take her portion and do whatever she does with it. And the son is going to take his portion and spend it on his sister. So she received the double portion because it's equality. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Because we want equality. And equality in this situation is oppression. Because he doesn't get a share. He doesn't get inheritance because she gets all of it. But if he's given a double portion than what the sister is given, then he takes half of his double portion of what she has, he uses it to maintain her, and he takes the other half and he does with it what he needs to do with it. That's equal. That's equitable. Not equality. That's equity, not equality. So, the Prophet ﷺ, sometimes he would let Aisha get away with certain things. Here again, Aisha is not like the rest of the Prophet ﷺ's wives. She's never been married before. She's the only virgin that he married. She had no children. Most of his wives had children. She had never been married before, which means that she had very little experience when it came to marriage, while all of the other wives of the Prophet ﷺ had been married before, married for years, many of them. So they understood the terrain of marriage. They understood. And so the expectation that the Prophet ﷺ had for his other wives is different than the expectations that he has for Aisha. She's younger, more immature, has less experience. You understand? So you're not going to deal with somebody that comes into a relationship like this like you would deal with someone who has some experience, been married before for years, husband died and you I remarried you, and you have a different set of expectations that come with who you are. Here again, equity, not equality. But when you're in it, you're not thinking about it like this. You're in it, you're saying, no, I want to be treated equally, I want to be treated fairly. And as a man in polygyny, your responsibility is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not please your wives. Let me say that again. As a man in polygyny, your job is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to please your wives. Because sometimes pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leads to you angering people. And sometimes pleasing people leads to you angering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have to reconcile within yourself as a man in polygyny that my job is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and sometimes that comes at the cost of angering people. You got to reconcile that within yourself. Sometimes pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the end result of that is that somebody is not going to like me. The Prophet ﷺ had to do that as well. As a matter of fact, Allah admonished the Prophet ﷺ for doing that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhan nabi, lima tuharrimu ma ahalla Allahu laka tabtaghi mardata azwajik. O Prophet, why do you make haram what Allah made for you halal, seeking to please your wife? You angered Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the expense of making your wives happy. You want to make your wife happy, but you do that at the expense of angering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You understand? Allah admonished him in the Quran. Surah Al-Tahrim. First ayah. Ya ayyuhan nabi. Allah addresses him directly. O Prophet, why do you make haram what I made halal for you? Something that I told you was halal, you make it haram for yourself. Tabtaghi mardata azwajik, seeking to please your wife. You angered me at the expense of pleasing your wife. So here again, as I said yesterday, polygyny is a man's game. This is a man's game. It's not for kids. It's not for young boys. This is not for a man who's putting his feet in shoes that's not his size. It's a man's game. Not for everybody. And so the Prophet ﷺ had to reconcile within himself that Your obligation is to please, and this doesn't matter whether you're in polygyny or monogamy. It could happen even in monogamy. You say no, you put your foot down on an issue, you stand firm on an issue because it's pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you earn the anger of your wife, you earn the anger of your children. It is what it is. I can tolerate the anger of human beings. I can't tolerate the anger of my Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's not what I'm going to do. You're mad at me, your anger, you're being mad at me, at some point will subside with very few consequences. Consequences are minimum. Angering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has severe consequences. And I would much rather deal with that than deal with that. And sometimes men, we don't like to upset people. We don't, especially if you're people pleasing, mama's boy. You have been taught, as you have been raised, to make everybody happy at the expense of your misery. Some of us as boys, we've been raised like that, unfortunately. It's emotional abuse. That's a whole nother conversation, though. Emotional abuse that we're still reconciling even as adults. People pleasing mama's boy. You did everything in your power to make your mom happy. Every time your mother was upset, you ran in as the young boy to try to make your mom happy. And you were taught by doing that to make everybody in your environment happy, make everybody around you happy. People pleasing mama boy who haven't reconciled within himself that you are your number one priority. You are your number one priority. Every time you saw mom upset, crying because she got off the phone with your dad, or she got off the phone with this one, or got into an argument with this one, as the young boy, you felt the need to run to mom's rescue. Run to her rescue. Do everything in your power to make mom good again. You're a people pleaser. But in being a people pleaser, you might anger Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the process. And you have to reconcile within yourself that it is okay for people to be upset with me. That's okay. It's okay for people to be upset with me. It's not okay for me to be upset with me. It's not okay for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be upset with me. So I got to live with that. You got to live with one or the other. Either you please people and make Allah angry, and you got to live with that, or you please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you might make people angry. That is something that you have to reconcile within yourself. There is no escaping that. There is no escaping that. Pick your poison. Pick your poison. So the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, they sent Fatima to go talk to the Prophet ﷺ about being fair and just in his relationship with them and Aisha. So they send Fatima, knowing that that's his baby girl, knowing that they're more likely to get the response that they want if they send Fatima. فَاسْتَأْذَنَتْ وَالنَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ مَعَ عَائِشَةَ. So Fatima, she comes, she asks permission to enter, and the Prophet ﷺ is with Aisha. فِي مِرْضِهَا, and she has on like her clothing that she wears in the home, meaning they're in a more relaxed environment. They're home, just relaxing. Fatima comes to the door. Aisha got on her house garment, and just relaxing. So the Prophet ﷺ gives Fatima permission to enter. فَأَذِنَ لَهَا فَدَخَلَتْ فَقَالَتْ إِنَّ أَزْوَاجِكَ أَرْسَلْنَنِي يَسْأَلْنَكَ الْعَدْلِ فِي بِنْتِ أَبِي قُحَافَةَ. So Fatima turns to the Prophet ﷺ and said, your wives sent me. Your wives sent me. This is his wives talking to his daughter to, hey, go talk to your father. Go talk to your dad. We need equality. He be letting Aisha get away with stuff. Don't let us get away with stuff. And that's not fair. It's not right. Yeah, we go talk to him for us. Women rallying up. MashaAllah. So Fatima comes in. She says, hey, listen, your wives sent me to you, asking you or requesting from you fairness, equality between them and the daughter of Abu Quhafa. The daughter of Abu Quhafa, Yani Abu Bakr. The Prophet ﷺ, already knowing, I've heard these complaints before, I got it, So the Prophet ﷺ turns to Fatima and he says, Ya Baniya, oh my beloved daughter. You really don't know. You caught up in the middle of something that you have absolutely no idea. Don't let these women get you jammed up. Don't let these women get you jammed up. They have a tendency to do this. Don't let these women get you jammed up. Ya Bani, oh my daughter, beloved daughter. Atuhibbina ma uhib. Do you love what I love? If he asks his daughter, do you love what I love? What is he asking her? If I ask you, do you love what I love? What am I asking you for? What am I asking you for? I'm asking you for loyalty. I'm asking you for loyalty. Do you love what I love? Meaning, do I have your loyalty in this issue right here? Do you love what I love? And Fatima, of course, this is his baby girl. She says, Bella, of course I do. You have my unyielding loyalty. Of course. I love what you love. He said, فَأَحَبِّ هَذِهِ. He said, then love this one right here. Love this woman right here. Because I love this woman. All this while Aisha's sitting right there. Whew. I'm not going to be able to finish this hadith this morning, man. Yeah, it's 7:21. I got to get my kids ready for school. He said, فَأَحَبِّ هَذِهِ. So love her. Love her. You love what I love? Then love her like I love her. You understand? فَقَامَتْ فَخَرَجَتْ. Fatima said, عَلَى رَأْسِ وَالْعَيْنِ. I heard you. She got up and she left. Say less, say no more. I got you. You understand? I got you. This is a relationship between a father and his daughter, man. Father wants loyalty from his daughter. Daughters, listen. Your father wants loyalty. Your mother tries to compromise that because moms will send their daughters to spy on their fathers for them. So where'd your father go? Who was your father talking to? Where did y'all go? Asking the daughter questions. The daughter has to be smart enough to realize, don't let your mother use you like that. Where's your loyalty to your father? Even if you saw your father make a mistake or do something wrong, at some point as a daughter, you have that conversation with your father. You are developing a relationship with your father independent of your mother. Your mother introduced you to your father, but your relationship with your father is independent of your mother. Otherwise, your mother will continue to use you, compromising a healthy relationship between you and your father. That is a fact. That is a whole fact. Stop me when I'm lying. Your mother wants to live vicariously through you and compromise your relationship with your father. As a daughter, it's your responsibility to establish a relationship with your father that is independent of your mother. Your mother introduced you to your father, but it is your responsibility to develop a relationship with your father that is independent of your mother. Otherwise, your mother will continue to control the relationship between you and your father, living vicariously through you. That is a cold, hard fact. Don't kill the messenger. I'm just stating it as it is. Mothers, I can't say don't do that because that's just who you are by nature as women. And sometimes the daughter feels caught in between her loyalty to her mother and her loyalty to her father. And the mother, of course, with men, there are no contingencies with us. The difference between men and women is that men, we don't have any contingencies. You're either loyal to us or you're not. I'm not going to punish you for not being loyal to me. Your mother, will punish you for not being loyal to her. That's a fact. That's the difference. A mother will punish her children for not being loyal to her. And she has little microaggressions, passive-aggressive behavior. It comes off very subtle, but it is a punishment. Fathers, we just see you for who you are. I mean, okay, your loyalty is to your mother. All right, it is what it is. I just got to be careful what I do around you. But we're not going to punish you because you don't have any loyalty to us. We're not built like that. That's just not how we function. We just recognize that your relationship with me is always going to be compromised, so as long as your mother is in the picture. So as long as you feel the need to be loyal to your mother. I'm never going to have, a healthy relationship with you because your mother's always living vicariously through you in your relationship with me. And that's just the way that it is. There is no rhyme or reason. There is no way to reconcile that. Other than the fact that people just mature and grow up and realize that if I want my daughter or my children to have a healthy relationship with their father, I have to back up and allow them to develop their relationship on their own. But the Prophet ﷺ, he wants loyalty. And I'm not saying all women do this. I'm just saying there are a lot in our society that do this. It is a characteristic of women that is, there's a pattern of behavior here. And the Prophet ﷺ, after he says this to Fatima, she gets it. She realizes what's happening here. Qamat fakharaj. And she left. She got up and she left. فحدثتهن فقلنا ما أغنيتي عنا شيئا فارجعي إليه قالت والله لا أكلمه فيها أبدا. So Fatima goes back to the wives. They're sitting there waiting. What did he say? What did he say? Fatima comes back. She said, hey, listen, I talked to him. I talked to my father. And they said, well, what did he say? He told me he loves the woman and he's not budging. He's not yielding to, what you're asking of him. So they say to Fatima, Ma aghnayti anna shay'an. You haven't done anything that we asked you to do. You came back empty-handed. You came back empty-handed. Our situation is no different than it was when you left the first time. How you come back to us empty-handed? Farji'i ilayhi. Go back to him again. Go back and talk to him again. Fatima said, Wallahi, I will never speak to him about Aisha again. I saw that man's face and I heard what he said about that woman. He's not budging. It's a waste of breath. I'm not going back to talk to that man again about that woman. No. Find somebody else, man. Find some other stunt dummy. I'm not going back to talk to him about his wife. No, I'm done. One and done. I did what you asked me to do. I saw this man's face. I heard what he said. That man ain't budging. He said, do you love what I love? I said, yeah. He said, then love her. I realized at that moment that he is not budging. Right. Now they turning on her. You ain't did anything, right? Just classic women. You've done nothing. Go back again. Right. I just risked my relationship with my father. And because I came back with something that wasn't pleasing to you, now all of a sudden I ain't did nothing. Women, man, subhanAllah, man. You can't win. You just can't win, man, subhanAllah. And similar to the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said that a man can spend his whole life doing nothing but right by his wife. And the moment she sees one thing wrong, she says, what? You ain't never done no good for me. Women, man, y'all got to take a look at that. She says, you have never done anything good for me. La ilaha illallah. Meanwhile, the man get up every day, go to work, risk his life, give you his entire paycheck. And then he does one thing that you disapprove of, and you just erase all of that. You can't write a person in pencil and then erase them when it doesn't please you. You can't do that. You can't erase someone just because in this moment you're not satisfied with what they're offering. They said, Farji'i, go back to him. Fatima said, Wallahi la ukallimuhu fiha abadan. I will never go back and speak to him again about this woman. Leave me out of this. Leave me out of this. Here's the kicker. Zainab bint Jahsh, she says, I'll go talk to him. Now, if you know anything about Zainab, number one, Zainab and Aisha were arch rivals. They did not like each other. These are two women that the Prophet ﷺ were married to that did not like each other. They were rivals. Not that they didn't like each other as Muslims. They still respected the boundaries. However, there was always this secret rivalry between them. Understand Zainab and who she was and coming into this situation. Zainab comes in, sees Aisha getting all these flowers and, running amok in a relationship. And Zainab feels like, that's my position. So now she's vying with Aisha for that spot with the Prophet ﷺ. These are women who love their husband. All in all, at the end of the day, these are women who loved their husband. And each one of them is just trying to find a place where they feel like this is exclusive for me. Everybody's looking for exclusivity. And sometimes in looking for that exclusivity, you don't realize that the other person is vying for the same thing. So it's not personal. It's not a personal hatred or dislike for the co-wife. It's just that we are in competition to get this place to win the heart of our husband. That's natural, especially if two co-wives or three co-wives or wives are in a relationship with a man and they all have this unyielding love for him and want to be next to him and near to him and close to him. And this was their relationship. Zainab says, I'll go talk to him. And things get really messy after this. And we'll finish this tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وسبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. You're going to want to tune into this tomorrow, I promise you. This gets really ugly. Yeah. It gets really ugly. But it's real. And I want you guys, as you listen, to understand and to normalize these things in polygyny. Usually when we hear about polygyny and we hear about incidents like this in polygyny, we use it as a means of a turnoff. And we say, oh, that's why I would never go into polygyny. That's why I would never entertain the idea of polygyny. And it's just like, this is normal. The moment we begin to normalize some of these things and, put names and attach, emotions and things to it, then it becomes more practical. It becomes more real. And we don't make it seem like it's some type of anomaly that we don't necessarily want to be a part of. We realize that this comes with the territory. This comes with the territory. No, Zainab came in kicking the door, waving the 4-4. No, it's a whole nother... I promise you, you want to hear this. But this is normal part of, this type of marital arrangement, and it shows us that even the Prophet ﷺ wasn't impervious to it. Nobody is going to have a perfect relationship, whether in monogamy or in polygyny. You could marry a man who had children before Islam and has a child's mother. And although he is not married to her, you could go through the same thing with her because she's in the picture to some degree. You could go through it with her, even though you're in monogamy. How many women have married a man and he has his ex-wife, don't say baby mothers because we don't have baby mothers in Islam. We have ex-wives. His ex-wife has his children. And although you're married to him, you still got to deal with her. She still maybe have feelings for him. There's still this feeling of, exclusivity, that she's used to dealing with him in a certain way, but now there's another woman in the picture. So now he has to tone down how he deals with his ex-wife. And you're still going through it, even though you're in monogamy. So this could happen in so many different ways. I'll give you another example. You could marry a man that has that type of relationship with his mother. And his mother could be like his second wife or his first wife. That's a fact. As long as there's another woman in his life that holds a place of exclusivity as a wife going into that situation, you still got to deal with her. Whether it's polygyny, whether it's monogamy and he has an ex-wife, whether it is monogamy and he has his mother who is his favorite woman in his life, or he has an adult daughter that you still got to deal with. He might have an adult daughter that he has that type of closeness and relationship with, and you marry him, and now you got to deal with, competing with his daughter. I can go on and on and on and on and on. It doesn't have to be polygyny. As long as there is a woman in his life that he reveres, that he respects, that he loves, that holds this place of exclusivity in his life, you still got to deal with it. She is a bab, she is a door that you have to enter in order to be a part of his life. His sister, his mother, his daughter, his ex-wife, it doesn't matter. Pick and choose. Pick one. It doesn't have to be another wife. The same thing that you would go through in polygyny, you would go through the same thing if he has that type of relationship with his mother, if he has that type of relationship with his daughter, if he has that type of relationship with his sister, if he has that type of relationship with any woman in his life. You still got to go through it. So, you're not escaping it because you say, well, that's why I don't want to be in polygyny. But then you marry a man in monogamy, and now you still got to go through it with him and his mom, with him and his daughter, with him and his ex-wife. You still got to go through it. Unless you're going to choose a man that has no woman in his life. Then and only then will you become exclusive, and you ain't got nothing to worry about. But then you might have to deal with his ego, who is his wife. Because if he don't have a woman in his life, then that means that his loyalty is to himself. And now you got another problem. Pick and choose your battle. So if he don't care about any woman in his life, then the only person he care about is himself. So he's married to his ego. So although you don't have to deal with another woman, you got to deal with the ego. So it's still three of y'all in the relationship. It's you, him, and his ego. So you married to that too. Happy hunting. Let me know how that worked out for you. Allahumma musta'an. وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.